Oh, my goodness. Am I in a good mood this week? What's good, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Wedge, part of the Early Edge universe. You guys find us. We could not be more thankful. But this week, it's a different week. It's a special week. It's my favorite week of the entire year. I went and got my 2015, the last year I worked the Masters digitally. And I busted it out because this is the Masters. It's Augusta National. It's the top 88 qualified players to show up. We've got the PGA Tour. We got Live Golf. It's going to be an amazing week. But on this show, it's about cashing tickets. Now, the odds look a little something like this. Remember, only 88 players are playing in this, and Scottie Scheffler is your defending champion. He's also your betting favorite. It's very low, plus 500, plus 650. We'll explain it all to you. And John Rahm, the third betting favorite, then everybody else is north of plus 1,000. To say we have a special show for you, that would be an absolute understatement. Let's bring in the stars of the show. You know him. You love him. First and foremost, he is the counselor of cash, and this man's been an absolute savage on this show and every other show. Sia Nejad, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon and hello, friends, and thank you for being my friend. And I'm talking to the chat too. I'm not just talking to you two. I'm really excited about this week. Truth is, I'm excited about pretty much any week, but the stakes are heightened quite a bit at the Masters.
Certainly is. CID says this is the best show on YouTube. CID, this is the best show anywhere. But thank you very much. Now, I cannot believe that this man was so lucky to have Patrick McDonald have to work the Masters that you get the chair. Eric Cohen, EC, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Coach. It's an honor to be here with all of you. And this is the best tournament of the year. And to be able to hopefully pick some winners and give you guys some tickets to cash, I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, you're damn right you are, as am I. Now, by the way, Will in the chat, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Will, for those of you watching live, or for those of you watching on demand, it was on Tuesday. Now, you guys know me. I'm not really one to brag. I'm not really one to just throw out there who my friends are. But I have a friend who years ago famously went toe-to-toe with Tiger Woods, stood on the same greens for 36 holes with Tiger Woods. And he's one of the best teachers in America today. He's one of the nicest guys in America today, and he's live on the show with us right here and right now. Please welcome to the Early Wedge for the very first time, Mr. Steve Scott. Steve, good afternoon, sir.
Great to be hanging with you all. It is Masters Week. We are ready to go, and so happy to be with you guys, and we are going to pick some winners for everybody out there. And they call me Double S because I'm going to double your cash today with all these great picks.
Oh, snap. Double S. And I will apologize up front that you have to work with EC today. All right, I'll apologize up front, but it's the way it goes. It's the way it goes. So, gentlemen, if you don't mind, we got to get started. We have so much to get to, and we're going to do things a little bit differently since Steve is here. Steve, I'm going to start with this. I just want to have a little round table discussion about the Masters. You've played it. You know. Very few people know what it's like. So let's start with this. In your opinion, what are the three most important things playing Augusta and kind of addressing Augusta National and the Masters?
Well, number one, I had a very wise caddy once told me that you don't read the greens at Augusta. You remember them. I played with Jack Nicklaus in a practice round, and we were on the 9th hole, and he told me to play this ball 6 inches right to left, and I would have bet my left arm that it was going to break at least a foot left to right. And I got up there and I said, look, you've got more green jackets than I do. I'm going to trust you. And lo and behold, I trust him. It was this 30-footer down the hill. There we are right there on the front of the 9th green. And I had this downhiller and I listened to him. I guess that was pretty smart of me. I was only 19 years old. So what else did I know? He had 6 green jackets and I was just barely shaving. But anyway, I listened to him, rolled the putt right in, and it was a cool practice round that I will never forget and a great moment.
EC, feel free to jump in.
Oh, no, Steve, I was going to ask you. So I'm an average putter, okay? Average putter pass. If you put the ball on the green in regulation, I hit every green in regulation, but you put it in the toughest spot on the green, what would I shoot on the day?
Oh, just in putting?
I'm just saying, let's say I was on the green in regulation, so that counted like that. What would I shoot, just from the hardest spot? You could pick it on every green.
Just kind of looking and listening to you a little bit. I don't even know if you would finish. That's I don't even know. I think you'd be putting it in the water. I mean, it would be in the bunkers. You'd need a shovel and a spade just to finish this thing. But no, the greens are so brutal. They're so brutal and they're so slick. Gary McCord got kicked out of the Masters broadcast for calling them bikini wax. So we're gonna just leave that with Gary McCord.
Yeah. Real quick, I know you were talking about the putting before we get to C. Can you kind of go through the other three things that you were talking about a little? Because I think they're really, really important for the audience to know to pick their players this week.
Yeah. So number one, history really matters. So rookies do not fare well. There's a couple guys I'll talk about soon. Tom Kim and Cameron Young. This is his second one, but rookies don't fare well. 1979 was the last time a rookie won here. That was Fuzzy Zeller. Now, number two, you got to let it fly. You got to have a guy who flies it super high, can land the ball on a dime. A guy like Scotty Scheffler, there's no reason why he can't win again. But the high ball hitters surely have an advantage. And you got to get the ball uphill, though. You have to have uphill putts at Augusta. If you're putting downhill, you're going to be so in trouble there. And then finally, there's so much elevation. You can't tell it on television. It's the equivalent of walking up the Washington Monument, 50 floors. This thing is so steep, and it's up and it's down and it's all around. There's only 3 flat holes on the property, and that's the 7th hole, the 12th hole, and really the 16th hole. And those couple are par 3s. So a lot of challenge with the hills, which might be proving a little tough for one Tiger Woods to walk, but we'll see.
So, but Steve, who are the best, maybe 2 or 3 players that you would say are the best at hitting from elevation, whether downhill lies or uphill lies?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think of the venue that really sticks out to me that's most similar to Augusta National is Kapalua. And that was the beginning of the year. They play the Century Tournament champions out there. It's a huge hilly golf course. It's got all sorts of stuff, lots of uneven lies. Think about who played well there this year. Number 2 ranked player there this year was Colin Morikawa. He probably should have won. He basically got the tournament stolen from him by one John Rahm, who shot 63, which is 10 under par on that venue on the round. And so that course has got some serious hills, serious slopes, lots of adaptation. So that's going to be most similar. I like both of those guys as far as their approach game.
Steve, you mentioned Cameron Young, and I think he's such an interesting case because he has limited experience, only 1 year at Augusta. He missed the cut, but now he's got Paul Tesori on the bag. And I just wonder how much of an influence, obviously it's a major thing, but is it enough to potentially catapult a guy like Cameron Young to the top?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Paul Tesori, he's gone around Webb Simpson and Vijay Singh prior to that. So this is his 21st Masters appearance for Paul Tesori. So Cameron Young, he missed the cut last year, but I think that experience in his first event here will prove very big. Plus, this great caddy, he almost won the match play, almost beat Sam Burns. So they've adapted together very quickly. Another guy to look for is Tom Kim and Joe Scavron. Joe Scavron would caddy for Ricky Fowler. Joe's been around here 10 times. Ricky Fowler finished runner-up here a few years back in 2019. So look for that tandem as well for a pair that, Tom Kim doesn't have any experience. He's a rookie. But I think he's got one of the best chances.
Steve-O, a lot of people know your history with Tiger Woods. We've showed some pictures we will continue to show. I saw a picture on social media today. It was from his 4th green jacket, and there was like 4 fans deep, and then a picture from practice round today, and it was like 8 deep. He's still the needle mover. We know that. He shocked the world in 2019. But in your opinion, what would be a realistic expectation for Tiger this week?
Well, although I've seen firsthand what Tiger Woods can do to an opponent, that was me. That was the craziest match ever. He won 38 holes that match, which was pretty crazy.
I knew I was wrong. I knew I was wrong.
You were too short, but we went a long way. But that guy, he's like Superman. He can go inside a phone booth, turn around, and just come out lights ablazing. But what's going to be really tough for him? He's got some things. The temperatures are going to be a little cool. Tiger Woods definitely is going to have a little bit of issue around this venue with the deteriorating temperatures and weather coming into the weekend. But I think we'll talk a little bit more about him as we go today.
I think we will. All right, that's a great breakdown of Augusta National and the Masters. But guess what? Steve isn't just here to give us a breakdown. He's going to play with us. He's going to give you his very expertise on the odds. So, gentlemen, if you don't mind, let's get started. And we start this show, Steve-O, with a little thing called DFS. It's very, very popular, whether it's by the day, by the tournament, whatever it is. So, Sia Nejad, we're going to start with you. I need 3 players to play, and I need a fade. Talk to me.
Yeah, it's hard to find a fade at the top considering how good this talent pool is. But let's start with the 3 players I'm going to be on. Patrick Cantlay. Listen, the history here is not great. What I like about Patrick Cantlay is that I'm willing to disregard the history because he has history. And it's not like it's terrible. It's just not Patrick Cantlay-esque type history. The weighted green in regulation, the weighted tee to green, things I'm really looking at here are really good. He's top 3, top 2 in both of those categories. We know the ball striking can be there. We know he's a winner. And at 9,500 on DraftKings, you would think at that price, his ownership would be really high. Well, it's only around 15%, which to give you some perspective is about 12 to 13% lower than those top 3 guys. That all makes sense. I understand why you'd be more inclined to take one of those top 3 guys. But at the end of the day, 9,500 is such a good price. 15% ownership is a relative discount from an ownership standpoint. So I like Patrick Cantlay. Cameron Young, I just talked about him. I love the Paul Tesori thing, and I love that he was great at the match play. But even prior to the match play, we saw some glimpses from Cameron Young. Some of the Cameron Young we saw last year, even at the API, he finished 10th place. Really like him at that price at 8,600. Shane Lowry is kind of a needle in a haystack guy. He's not picking up a lot of ownership, and that's why I have him on here. I think he's perfect, especially if the conditions are bad with the rain and the wind that we likely are going to see at Augusta. So I think Shane Lowry at 7,900, considering his ownership is going to be less than 10%. I think that's a steal. And by the way, he hasn't been playing well, but if you look at the ball striking, he's gained in a very significant way in 3 out of the last 5. It's the putter that's been letting him down. And my fade, of course, is going to be Xander Schauffele. Not because I hate Xander in any way, shape, or form on this course. It was just so hard to find a fade at 9,000 or above. And I think Xander's kind of the odd man out when you look at the talent around him.
Remember, guys at home, especially for those of you brand new to golf betting, this week's a little bit different. The numbers are a little bit skewed. There's only 88 players. It's also a tournament that historically is very, very top heavy. So they've adjusted the odds to address that. By the way, Steve-O, Big Cheesy 707, I don't know if he agrees with you or disagrees with you. EC looks like he could break a 110. A 110.
I mean, listen, Steve, I've had rounds where I've had 28 putts and rounds where I've had 40. At Augusta, over under 45.5. What are you taking?
All right. I'm going to go with the over because those greens, they're slicker than I can't even say it on this, but they're very slick, and you're gonna have some. They're not even green. They're like a blue tint. They're cut so short, and they're lightning fast. And when you ask them about what the stent meter says for Augusta for the Masters, you know what their answer is? It's championship speed. That's what they tell you. So it's really fast.
They do everything different, don't they? I was calling the Masters. Remember, Steve, the year that Ernie Els 4-putted the first hole of the tournament.
Yeah.
The first hole of the tournament, 4-putted.
Yeah.
Crazy. If you're not on the right side, it can be extremely difficult, as Steve says. So I don't know if you guys got to see EC's face as Sia was giving his picks, because Sia actually gives the percentages as he sends them in, and I know they go completely over the head of EC. So I need your DFS picks minus the percentages, but I know you're more of a gut feel guy when it comes to fantasy, EC.
I like a little course history, Coach, and I like a little recent history aside from Augusta. So we're going to start with Keith Mitchell at 7,100. Now, he's only played in the Masters once in 2019, and he was 43rd, made the cut. Great. So the key at Augusta that I have come up with is a shot gained tee to green. And when Mitchell pops, he goes nuts. He gained almost 11 strokes tee to green at the Genesis Invitational. He gained 4 2/3, so 4.66 at the API. And in the fall, 7.22 strokes gained tee to green at the Houston Open. I think if Keith Mitchell makes the cut, that's what I'm looking to do with these cheaper guys. Make the cut. If we can get a top 30, top 40, that's great. At 7,100, I think it's great value for Mitchell. Now, another guy that 5 in a row, top 40, Siwoo Kim. And it's not somebody that you would really think fits Augusta National, but the course history doesn't lie. Played here 6 times, 5 straight top 40s at 7,400. When you're filling out a lineup, it makes sense. And a guy that C and I are going to talk about plenty on this show is Colin Morikawa, who's just been phenomenal at Augusta. He's gotten better every year, 44th to 18th to 5th. He's awesome in approach. Top 15 this year in approach from 175 to 200, 200 to 225, and 225 to 250. And as Steve said at the beginning, He's great in elevated courses, though I don't want to bring up the Tournament of Champions when I had him to win. That Sunday was a little rough to watch. That was painful. My fade, I agree with Sia. It's really hard to find somebody in that 9,000 plus range. And I know Cam Smith has been great at the Masters. But honestly, Liv, is that really the best competition? In his last two, 24th and a T26, and there are only, 48 guys playing in there? His previous Masters lead-in form from the past few years, significantly better. I'm not expecting a big week from Cam Smith. I'm fading him.
You're going to see some of my picks later this week. I'm also fading a couple of guys who failed to even break the top 30 in a 48-man field. All right, quick question for Steve-O from the chat. Jeff says, Gordon Sargent hasn't hit anything longer than an 8-iron into a par 4 today. Steve, tell me if you like him to be the low amateur this week.
Yeah, I think for sure he's definitely somebody I got my eyes on, and I think the odds makers are saying that too. He's pretty high up there. He has clocked 197 miles an hour of ball speed this week. He typically plays in that mid 180s, but this guy has got such serious speed. He's 19 years old. He's fearless. I'm sure he's played a few practice rounds around there, but he's got some. He's really got the modern game, and he's an amazing player. Won the NCAA individual championship. So Gordon Sargent, of the 7 amateurs, you got to put him right at the top.
All right, no doubt about it. All right, he can answer anything. Keep putting those questions into the chat. We'll ask Steve-O in real time. By the way, Will Drummond, he says such hate on the live golfers. We're not hating on the live golfers. They just haven't been playing in high-level competition all year. That's all we're saying. They haven't.
Yeah. Orange County National is just it's not the preparation these guys need for Augusta. No way.
And that was just last week. They just ended that tournament on Saturday because they don't play 72 holes. My bad. All right, time to get into our first round leaders. But before we do that, this is just the first major of the year. The next one also at our little network that we get to work for called CBS.
Golf's biggest stars descend on Oak Hill for one unforgettable major. The PGA Championship coming in May to CBS.
Steve, what do you know about Oak Hill real quick?
Oak Hill is a big boy golf course. One of the great 36-hole venues out there, like a Baltusrol. Oak Hill, you know what? It's going to be kind of cold in mid-May in Rochester, New York. So going to have to get a little lucky with the weather. But Oak Hill, recently redesigned by Andrew Green, who's an up-and-coming architect. It's an amazing venue. Donald Ross, it is a big boy golf course, and it's going to be a pretty awesome. I can't wait to be there. I'm going to do some broadcasting for ESPN on that one, so can't wait.
There you go. Educate and entertain, ladies and gentlemen. Knowledge is power. There you go. All right, let's get into it. First round leaders. Now, there is not a human being on planet Earth. It doesn't exist who's better than my man, the counselor, at this particular bet. He's uncanny how many times we have cashed. So, Sia, if you don't mind, show the people how it's done.
Yeah, and the frustration a little bit is that we probably should have cashed a few more. I mean, we've had so many second places, and I know there's a lot of markets where you can do first round leader like top 5, top 10. My books don't offer that. If your books offer it and you want to hedge it a little bit, then more power to you. Go ahead and do that. But I've got 4 first round leaders here. When we get to the long shot section at the end of the show, I've got a long shot first round leader that I think a lot of you, based on what I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of you will be interested in. Let's start with Patrick Cantlay at plus 2,500 again. The greens in regulation, the tee to green, the ball striking, the short game. He really has it all. And I think plus 2,500 is perfectly reasonable. Jordan Spieth was a guy I was kind of flirting with as an outright, but I'm going to put him in the first round leader. We know he can get off to strong starts, and I actually really like him at this course, just like a lot of people do. Cameron Young at plus 3,500. Listen, he's only played here once, but he has the ability to pop any given round. And I think with Paul Tesori on his bag and the fact that he played here last year, I think that's going to help him potentially flash in the first round. And then finally, Sam Burns. It's interesting with him because I don't really think he can win this tournament, but he's your classic first round leader guy. Now, his experience here is limited as well. He's only played 1 year. With that said, when he played last year, he was actually pretty good overall. He missed the cut, but he was a little soft on approach, wasn't very good there, and he wasn't very good with the putter. But off the tee and around the green, I believe he was decent there. So with that in mind, knowing that he can spike with the putter and knowing that the ball striking is starting to show up with Sam Burns, can he flash for a round at 40-1? I'm willing to find out.
I was kind of shocked at that nugget, too. I was shocked that it was the first match play that he had ever played in when he won 2 weeks ago. I was shocked at that. All right, 4 good plays from the counselor. Steve Scott, Double S, coming to you next, big boy. Why do you like these 3 names? Take me through them.
Well, John Rahm at plus 1,800, think about it. He's had 3 wins this year. Usually comes out of the box really well. He shot 64 2 times in the first round at the Tournament of Champions and the Amex, and 65 2 times right out of the box at the Genesis and Arnold Palmer. He had to withdraw from the Players recently, and he went out a little early at the match play. But I think he's a bit hungry to jump on things this week. And again, comes out of the box very well. But first round leader, I think he's really good. Tony Finau, he's 4th in strokes gained total, 3rd in strokes gained approach. He's had 3 wins on tour since the last major last July at the Open. He does so many things great. And remember, he was in the final group with Tiger Woods in 2019 when Tiger won on that final day. So he's seen how it gets done. And I think he's putting much, much better. His putting stats are inside the top 30 on the tour. So he is ready to go. Brooks Koepka, we're going to throw a bone to the Live boys, because Brooks Koepka at 3,500 right now. And this is the tough thing about handicapping the Live guys, is because there are no stats on the Live tour. We don't have fairways hit, greens hit. We don't know exactly what they're doing other than the score they're shooting. But Brooks Koepka played really well last week, 65, 65, 68, took the title. So obviously his game is in form, and maybe he'll carry that over this week to Augusta.
I still think people forget about I forgot until full swing, Steve, that Finau was in that final group with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he has seen it.
He's crazy. And Jeff says it in the stat. I still think that Finau had the single greatest physical feat I've ever seen when he snapped his ankle, dislocated it in the par 3 contest, and still played and made the cut. Ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. Now, EC, I know you're sitting over there right now going, damn, that's preparation right there. That's bringing it strong right there with Sia and S squared or double S, whatever we want to call him. So EC, I'm just going to step back, and I can't wait to see what you have to say.
No, I mean, Coach, do I even belong on this screen with these 2 guys? I mean, with how good Sia's been and with Double S's expertise, I mean, I'm just honored to be my name to be on the screen with these 2 guys. In all seriousness, the 3 first-round leaders I took are big game hunters. Cam Young, we saw what he did in the majors last year, but I really love how he popped at the match play the other week in Austin. I mean, he's a guy that I know Sia is going to talk a lot about. I think he has a chance to have a big tournament despite missing the cut last year. Sung Jae Im finished 2nd here in 2020 when the tournament was played in November. I believe that the weather conditions this week might be most similar to what we saw in 2020, a little bit cooler, a little bit windier, and we saw Sung Jae do well there. He also has an 8th place finish in 3 tournaments at Augusta. So I think Sung Jae could pop. And then Minwoo Lee, we saw what he did at the Players. I mean, he was in it for 3 rounds, and he's the type of guy that can go out and shoot 65 on day 1. Fearless, finished 14th here in his only appearance last year. Why not?
I almost played him in a tournament matchup, Shane Lowry over Minwoo Lee. And at the last second, I thought, man, Minwoo Lee is the type of player that can show. He showed up at the Players. He could show up. You just never know. I'm not willing to bet against him. I can tell you that. All right, great job, gentlemen, getting things started with first-round leaders. Now, we're going to move to our next segment of the show, and this is what I like to call our bread and our butter. This is where all your money is made. It's not exciting. It's not necessarily the most fun, but it's the smartest. All you got to do is be one other cat out there. See what I did there? Little Tiger reference? You're welcome. So, where do we start? EC, I don't like the disrespect that everybody else is giving you. So I'm going to let you start us in this segment. What are your head-to-heads that you love this week?
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm going to roll with Will Zalatoris plus 124 against Tony Finau. Now, let's hope Finau doesn't dislocate his ankle again in the par 3 contest. That you're right. That was an incredible feat. But Will Zalatoris, speaking of big game hunters, 6 out of his 7 majors where he's made the cut, he's finished top 10. The only one that he didn't was the Open Championship last year. In 2 Masters appearances, Zalatoris has gone 2 and 6. I mean, doesn't get much better than that unless you're Jordan Spieth. He's also gained 11.3 shots tee to green and 12.92 shots putting. Now, that's shocking. Almost 13 shots gained putting from Will Zalatoris in 2 Masters appearances. It's wild considering watching his putting stroke, which, believe it or not, Steve, is worse than mine. I think. I like Zalatoris. He's a big game hunter. He pops here. Nothing against Finau, who's consistent. I think Finau has a shot at a top 10. I think Zalatoris, though, if he's right and the back holds up, I think he could be another top 5, top 8 type of guy. I'm also rolling with Colin Morikawa against Dustin Johnson at -118. As I mentioned earlier, 44th, 18th, 5th for Morikawa in 3 appearances at the Masters. But DJ has also lost in his last 2 Masters 5.51 strokes putting. That is very concerning. I know putting is kind of fluky, but Steve, as you talked about with those greens, not necessarily the highlight of DJ's game. I would roll with Morikawa, who I think has a big week ahead of him.
You do remember what Dustin did in November of 2020, don't you?
I did, yeah. But, Coach, we did not have, for that particular tournament, there were not shots gained stats available, so we can't exactly see how the putter held up at that one.
I know his game held up. His game dominated that particular time.
Yeah, he set a record, but it was 20 under, but it was in the fall. That golf course is 1,000 times different in November than it is right now in April. So much, much different golf course. And DJ is a way different player right now, I think.
Wait a second. Did you just back EC on the show?
I did. I did. I totally did.
Thank you, Steve.
History being made every week here on the Early Wedge. First time anybody's ever done that. All right, Steve-O. Now, I can see it's a different player, but you're fading Zalatoris in your head-to-head. Take me through.
Yeah, I am really, because he has been overcoming all these back issues that have forced him out of a lot of events. I mean, in 7 events this season, he's only got 1 top 10. All his major stat categories, he is worse than last year. 74th in strokes gained approach this year. Last year, he was number 1. 74-1, not good. 58th in strokes gained total. Last year, he was 3rd. So he's still trying to get accustomed to it. I like Corey Connors. I think this little victory hangover is going to carry him on through Augusta here. He was tied for 6th here last year. And that win last week, I really think that it's going to really help propel him. And Will Zalatoris, although we know that he can play well around here, I think he's still trying to work out some issues with his body. So definitely an issue there. And then really Tom Kim over Joaquin Niemann. Tom Kim, I know he's a rookie, but Joaquin Niemann is all about that. Joaquin Niemann is all about the live. He's not been playing a whole lot right now. So, and his last 2 starts, 33rd and 37th, like you said, in a 48-player field. So not really solid right there. Kim is a rookie. He's got this experienced caddy, Joe Scavron, on the bag. He's 4th in accuracy, where you have to hit certain parts of the fairway. He's 11th in greens in regulation, and he's 8th in putting from 10 to 15 feet on the PGA Tour, which is crucial around Augusta. I'm going Tom Kim. And then finally, Colin Morikawa over Justin Thomas. If not for a triple bogey on the 10th hole at the Players a month ago, he would have been in the top 3 there. Justin Thomas not hitting the ball very well. He's 47th in strokes gained approach. Tied for 132nd in green in regulation and 147th in strokes gained putting. And here's your key stat with Justin Thomas on why you should fade him. In the last 7 appearances of the Masters, he's had 21 3-putts. So he's 3-putting a lot. He can't figure these greens out. They have a different speed than he's accustomed to. I'm going Colin Morikawa. He's 3rd in driving accuracy, 4th in strokes gained tee to green, and 2nd in strokes gained approach. So I like what Colin Morikawa brings to the table.
Big Cheesy 707 says, I feel like a scratch golfer after listening to Double S.
Boom.
So do I.
Exactly. We're bringing it to you this week.
Bringing the heat, bringing the fire. I like it a lot. By the way, I never want to bet on a guy, and I'm talking about Justin Thomas. He put out on social media, I don't know if you guys saw it this week, where basically he said it's incredible how you can be on top of the golf world 1 minute and then not even be able to figure out where you're hitting it on the. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of tells me where his head's at right now. I mean, he hasn't had what Steve, 2 top 10s since he won the PGA last year or last year.
It's not sharp. He's just not been sharp, and he's working through things on his swing, changing his arm plane a little bit in the backswing. So yeah, I would stay away from Justin Thomas for the moment.
All right, there you go. And I am. So I have Morikawa with JT. I've got several head-to-heads. Then here's one of the rules here at the Early Wedge. We don't talk to each other. We're not allowed, so we don't influence each other's decisions. I only give out picks that I really feel good about. I love these. Rory, this is going to be his week. He's been there more than anybody else to practice, and all the reports coming out has him just playing electric golf and putting the lights out. I like him plus 100 over Scotty Scheffler. Rahm, we've talked about him. I think Patrick Cantlay, I don't disagree with Sia. I think Rahm's just going to have a better showing. I think he could finish top 5. Cantlay could be a top 10. We still cash this minus 150. Max Homa. How do you not play Max Homa over Victor Hovland? Enough said. Then Justin Rose. He has a great history at this golf course. He's playing great. Siwoo Kim does not. So give me him at minus 130. And then I'm fading Brooks Koepka. You gotta prove it to me. Live golfers, you got to show me your game is sharp enough. You have one bad day, that takes you out of contention. One bad day. So I love all of those head-to-head matchups. All right, moving on. Finishing positions. This could be anything. It could be a top 40, a top 20, a top 10, a top 5. Could be anything. Steve Scott, we're going to start with you because I'm looking at 4 picks, a top 20 and a top 10. Take me through them.
Yeah, well, number one, finishing position right here would be, let's see. Shoot. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Tech too. He struggles with the tech too.
Yeah. Finishing position, top 20. I mean, Corey Connors, I really think he's going to be a solid pick this week. Plus 150 right there. Xander Schauffele, really solid player, makes a lot of eagles. He's second in eagles on the season. And these par 5s, very important to play these par 5s well. I like Xander Schauffele there. For a top 10 pick, Jason Day has been really solid. I like his pitching game around the greens. He's got a lot of creativity. He's 3rd in scoring average on the tour, 5th in strokes gained total. So really solid pick there. And Cameron Young, he has a cannon off the tee. He hits the ball so far, and I think with Paul Tesori on the bag and has so much knowledge around there, he's going to guide that cannon around the golf course to success this week. So pick him in the top 10 as well.
Incredible. Everybody is high on Cameron Young, and they should be. Steve, thank you very much. Sia, let's come to you. Talk me through yours.
Yeah, top 20, I like Dustin Johnson at minus 110. I just think from a live standpoint, there are a few guys that I kind of like that I think can do well. I mean, I could probably narrow it to probably 2, Dustin Johnson and maybe Joaquin Niemann. I think Mito Pereira, even though he's a debutant, has a shot in the low end, but that's more of a DFS play than anything. But I like Dustin Johnson at minus 110. His track record here is just so good. He's one of those guys, we can make the comment like he could just kind of wake up on the wrong side of the bed and potentially still top 20 this thing. So like him. And then the next top 20, lost the graphic. It's Cameron Young, of course. Well, of course it's Cameron Young. I'm going to take him at plus 120 for the top 20 because of all the things we've already talked about. Listen, I really like the idea of Paul Tesori being on his bag, but even aside from that, he's just been playing very well. This is a very talented field. He's had success in talented fields in the past and at majors. So I think we are on an upward trajectory with Cameron Young, and I don't think we've seen the apex of it quite yet.
All right, and we're going to get back because I'm an idiot. I did not do your head-to-heads, and I apologize for that. So we'll get to those after we do this section. Did you do your top 10 parlays, Sia?
This one's really interesting because this is an offering on DraftKings where you can, it's not a parlay so much, it's just kind of a prop bet where you can pick Scotty Scheffler and Patrick Cantlay to finish inside the top 10, and that's paying plus 400. I typically don't like to engage in these, but at plus 400, I feel like I have to because I mean, Cantlay really is the only question mark here. Yes, of course, Scotty could potentially finish outside the top 10, but I just think there's really low odds on that. And I really like Patrick Cantlay this week. So getting those guys, I mean, I could see a 6th place and a 1st place or 6th and 3rd, and I'm getting plus 400 on that. So I'm willing to take that one.
This is one of the sections I love at DraftKings, and I don't love all their sections, but I gave one out on the show yesterday, and I may have one on the show coming up later today. Really cool. And when we go to majors, I like doing these exotics. They're fun to do. And not every single week, but at majors, they're fun to do. So Sia gives that out. All right, EC, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm going to do one top 20, and that's Keith Mitchell. We talked about it a little bit earlier during the DFS section. When he pops, he goes nuts tee to green. I mean, he went crazy at the Genesis where he finished top 10, API, Houston Open. So the key with Keith Mitchell, he's 10th in driving distance off the tee, and that's really important, especially in wet conditions at Augusta National. Course is going to play, I would think, and Steve, you might have some insight here, very long with the rain. So that's where a guy like Keith Mitchell, who hits it a mile, can really gain some advantage there. And at plus 280, seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. The temperatures and the wetness out there is just going to definitely favor the long hitter. The long hitter is going to have a monster advantage. They always do at Augusta. I think this week you've got to pick those guys who really can bomb it.
All right. And you like Jordan Spieth too, EC?
Yeah, Coach, I don't mean to be a jinx for your pick as well, but this one just seems like a book error everywhere. I mean, how is Jordan Spieth a guy that's finished in the top 10, 5 out of his 9 times here? Top 3, 5 out of 9 times. He's plus 175 for a top 10. And plus the guy, his stats winning on Easter in 21, winning on Easter in 22. I like trends like that. This is a bad line by the sports books. I would have made it close to even money for him to finish top 10. So the value is extreme here.
Are you trying to say that God is going to be alive next Sunday? Are you saying that? All right. I don't need to spend very much time on mine. I got Spieth, same reasons. Justin Rose has a great history here for a top 20. And DJ is DJ. And he can flip a switch. And like Steve said, the long hitters should be faded. There's very few that are longer and more accurate than Dustin Johnson when he has his A game. And we'll see what his A game is this week. All right. Before we move forward, because I'm a moron, we must move back very quickly. Sia, take me through your head-to-head, sir.
Yeah, I'll go through them quickly. Russell Henley minus 120 over Seamus Power. Henley's not a guy I normally put money on in the head-to-head matchups. And I'll say this, I think maybe it's because it's the Masters. I think these lines are very efficient across the board in the head-to-head. So I really had to kind of comb through and search for what I liked here. But the reality with Seamus Power is, the short game can be there. I think he's going to be fine in these conditions, these kind of rainy, wet, potentially windy conditions. But at the end of the day, the ball striking just has not been there for Seamus Power. And frankly, the putting over the last 3 tournaments hasn't been there either. Russell Henley's stats don't look that great, but they look a lot better than Seamus Power. And over the last couple of tournaments, it looks like he's found the ball striking a little bit, and he's got pretty good Masters history. Over his last 2 at the Masters, he's finished, I believe, inside the top 40 in both. So I'm going to take Russell Henley minus 120 over Power. Adam Scott minus 130 over Bryson. It's really just a fade on Bryson. Listen, I like some of these live guys. I think some of these live guys will be successful at Augusta. I don't think Bryson's one of them. And if you look at what he's done on live, I think the evidence points to his game is not in the right place. Whereas guys like potentially Joaquin Niemann or Dustin Johnson, I think their games are kind of trending where you could say they're going to compete here. So give me Adam Scott minus 130 over Bryson. And speaking of fading guys, I've been fading Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm not going to stop now. I think the matchup market is actually on Matt Fitzpatrick. He's a favorite in a lot of these matchups, but I'm going to go ahead and take Corey Connors. Love his game. Matt Fitzpatrick's lost on approach in 7 out of the last 8 that he's played. It's not rounds, tournaments. It's just been a bad scene for Matt Fitzpatrick, and I don't think he's going to, quote, get right at the Masters. If anybody's going to get right at the Masters, it's the guy who's already in sync, and that's Corey Connors, who won last week and has been very good at the Masters.
I think when you look at, as we're getting towards the end of the show a little bit, if you look at all of our picks, for those of you watching at home, understand this about the Masters. This is not the Valero Texas Open. This is not the week to try to bet on a flyer. Flyers don't win at the Masters. They don't. So you got to feed in. It may not be the odds you're used to, but if you want to cash a ticket, you got to play the guys that we're telling you to play. They're not all going to hit, obviously, but it's really good information, great information. All right, now where you could get a nice little payday would be if you correctly predict the winner of the Masters. Now, Scotty Scheffler, last year, he openly said Sunday morning he almost physically got sick to his stomach. He did not believe, Steve, that he belonged in the conversation. What did you see out of Scotty Scheffler last year on Sunday that made him the lock that he ended up being to allow him to, 4-putt and still win?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty Scheffler he is the man. He hits it so high and so far, a huge combination there. And plus, he's got this thing with his faith, and Ted Scott, his caddy, who's had a ton of experience out there as well, who caddied for Bubba Watson when Bubba won both times there. So when you have the experience, both with player and caddy there on a venue that you've seen yourself play great on, and all the strategies ahead of time, I mean, that's a huge thing. And Scotty Scheffler, he has all the goods. He has the mental game that's required. He's got the physical game that's needed, and he's just not scared of anybody out there, period.
So with all that being said, everything that Double S just said, not one of us picked Scotty Scheffler to win this year. Are we going to have egg on our faces? See what I did there? All right. So these are our winners. EC, let's start with you. Talk to me.
Well, I think my two favorites here, Coach, are Spieth and Morikawa. I mean, Jordan Spieth, I know the Easter Sunday thing is great, but one thing that I'm looking at, shots gained tee to green. In 2021, he was first, gained nearly 13.5 shots tee to green when he finished third. Last year, Rory was number 1 in shots tee to green. Colin Morikawa was third. That's why I'm looking at these three. The Rory price scares me. It's just too low, and it's hard to bet a guy at plus 700 to win a tournament, especially one with Rory's history here at the Masters. But he's going to get that career Grand Slam at some point, right? Why not this year? I just think for me, where I'm putting the majority of my money, and I'm continuing to add this week, are Spieth and Morikawa. With all of the promotions that are out there on the sports books, just the top 20 insurance and the plus 300 odds boost, whatever you can get, those are the two guys that I'm just adding as we go along here.
I think you bring up a good point. We normally like to preach, don't play anybody less than plus 1,000 or plus 1,500. There's just no value in a 156-man field. This isn't that. So plus 700, we kind of, Steve, need to lean into it because there's only 88 players. And let's be honest, how many, and I want you to give me your picks while you answer this question, how many legitimate players do you think have a shot at winning this week?
Well, I think probably there's 8 to 10, I think, that really have a legitimate shot to win because Augusta National separates the field better than any venue, just like you've outlined. I mean, there are no rookies that really do well here other than Fuzzy Zeller in 1979, so you can throw that one away. You've got your past champions, your Mike Weirs of the world. They're not going to win. Amateurs aren't going to win. So you have to kind of narrow all the rest of them down to a small group who are playing well. Scotty Scheffler's obviously playing well. But the three that I'm really looking at, number one, I'll go in reverse order. Sam Burns, he's on form for sure, number one. Even though he won a match play event, it's not a stroke play event. He's got 4 top 10s in his last 11 events and 6 at Valspar in his defense of that title, a 2-time title. He was trying to go for 3. So he's got some really good stuff going. And then we go Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth, I kind of like you said, he's won on Easter Sunday the last 2 years. Maybe there's something in the universe that Jordan Spieth has just got with the Easter Bunny. I don't know, but he knows this place. He's a past champ here. That means a lot. My winner, though, my guy who's right at the top, Rory McIlroy, he is going to make history this week and be the 6th player to win the career Grand Slam and etch his name in golf history. This is the week. He's dialed in his driver. He shortened the driver up lengthwise to create more accuracy. He's got a new putter in the bag that he just lit up at the match play. And sometimes that new putter is like just a new friend, and you can go ahead and ride that thing all the way to victory. But he's played 81 holes here, by the way, in the last 2.5 weeks. He is fully prepared, and this is the biggest thing, why you need to pick Rory McIlroy, is because in all of his 4 major championships that he has played and won early in his career, all involved rain. Just going to leave that there for you.
Wow. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. All right, so Rory's your pick. Rory's also my pick. You got to believe at some point the golf gods are going to reward him for his career, for the fact that he's been the leader for the PGA Tour the last 1.5 years, and he admitted that cost him. He said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to focus back on golf. He wins this week. Spieth and Young, you guys know all the reasons. Sia, take me through yours.
Can we please get a GIF of Steve Scott saying, "Oh yeah," like the Kool-Aid guy from back in the day who crashes into the wall? That was awesome. Seriously, we need to make that happen.
There's no crashing with my picks, though, Sia. No crashing.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, here's the thing. I love the synergy here. We've got obviously a ton of you on Rory, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa. There's so much overlap here, which is really interesting because, as Coach said, we don't talk about our picks or even really see the picks before the show. So this is really cool. I like Patrick Cantlay at plus 1,800. Again, the history here doesn't tell us much about Patrick Cantlay succeeding and owning the green jacket, but I just think the metrics are pointing to Patrick Cantlay breaking through, and I think it's more of an anomaly than anything. We know Cantlay has the experience here. He just hasn't cashed in quite yet. I think this could be the year at plus 1,800. Colin Morikawa, listen, I don't need to belabor the point. I love what EC said about the tee to green stuff. I mean, last year he was 3rd tee to green, and that was behind, of course, Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. Cameron Young, Again, at 30-1, love that number for him. And Victor Hovland, listen, we're not talking about Victor Hovland, and there's a couple reasons. One is because we think he lacks the short game, which is true. The other reason is because he's sort of out of our consciousness because he hasn't really flashed. But a few weeks back, I was looking at his metrics and I was thinking to myself, Victor Hovland is about to win a tournament. The metrics are telling me that he's getting better and better and better. As far as the short game, that can be a little finicky at times. And one illustration of that is that 2 out of the 3 times he's played here, he's actually gained around the green. Now, last year was a complete disaster. He lost over 4 strokes around the green, but the 2 times prior to that, he gained around the green. And for the record, he has been working on that part of his game specifically. So this really could be rounding into a very good tournament for Victor Hovland, who again has gotten completely forgotten, and I'll take him at plus 3,500.
Will in the chat says, rolling with the counselors, winning plays. Let's go. What do we chop liver, Will? What's the matter with our plays?
Ouch.
It does hurt. It does hurt just a little bit. Ouch is right. All right. We have arrived at the final, and you want to wait until the end of the show. We have a very little special story for you. And I don't even know what it is yet. But this is what we call our long shot segment. It could be anything. It could be picking somebody that has long odds and give you a little education. It could be to miss the cut. It could be anything. Steve, you're going last for a reason. So, Sia Nejad, what do you have in this section, sir? Talk to me.
Yeah, I got a couple long shots in the first round leader and the winner market. Again, these are ones, anytime we're in this section, I want to caution everybody, you don't need to make these bets. And if you do, they really, truly should just be sprinkles, especially at the Masters, when just like Steve Scott said, we are in a situation where there's probably 10 to 15 guys that can actually win this thing. However, Danny Willett, this is sort of the Danny Willett part of the show. He's one of the guys that actually has won this thing. And honestly, the game, speaking of game rounding into form, the short game has sort of always been there for Danny Willett. But if you look at over the last 4 to 5 tournaments, oh, by the way, he's 6,600 in DFS. So that's kind of nice. But if you look over the last 4 to 5 tournaments, the ball striking has really kind of made a comeback. So at 175-1, I mean, listen, it's extremely speculative. It's 130-1 in some markets. Either way, that's a really tall number. And, if you want to sprinkle it, that's great. But in the first round leader market, I think that's more realistic. And that's why the number's shorter. It's 75-1. It wouldn't absolutely shock me if he has an excellent 18 holes and becomes your first round leader. The only other guy I'll bring up, he's 90-1. He's a debutant. I kind of look at him as like a poor man's Cameron Young, and he may not even be, to be honest with you. We just haven't seen enough of him. But I think Mito Pereira, again, first time here, but I think he's got a shot to do some damage here. I'll probably be playing him a little bit more in DFS than the betting market, but I think at 90-1, it's worth taking a look at.
Well, the last time we saw Mito Pereira, he was having some weird driver swing into the water at the PGA Championship, which cost him the major, I might add. By the way, a couple of things in the chat. Tom says, can't find any of those head-to-heads. Me and Steve, all of them are from DraftKings. Sia, where are yours from?
2 are from DraftKings. The one where the plus money one, Corey Connors over Matt Fitzpatrick, is FanDuel.
Yeah, mine are from FanDuel as well, Coach.
All right. So, and we talk about this all the time, but I feel like I need to repeat myself. Thursday and Fridays, all books kind of do their separate thing. That's why you have to listen to the information on the player. And then if you have a different player, say, oh, this is what Steve said. This is what Sia said. Take the information. Knowledge is power. Educate, entertain. We talk about it all the time. Saturdays and Sundays are more uniform because normally you're betting against a player that they're matched up with. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it goes Thursday, Friday, as opposed to the weekend. One other question, and now I forgot it because I got into a tangent. I'll remember it here in a second.
Well, Coach, if you don't mind, let me jump in for 15 seconds because we did have somebody in the chat who tweeted at us last week and they said, hey, because it's the Masters, can you do two, they were talking to me, I guess, in the moment, but can you do 2 of your favorite DFS plays in each range? I can do it in 10 seconds. Do you mind?
Do it.
All right. Scotty and Rory, 10K and above. We're going to go there. These are my 2 favorite in each range. Cantlay and Collin in the 9K range. Young and Hovland in the 8K range. I'd give a shout out to Finau, DJ, Day, and Burns over there too. In the 7K range, Lowry, Minwoo Lee. And I'd also give a shout out to Neiman and Mito. And finally, in the 6K range, Ryan Fox, Danny Willett.
It's what the man does, ladies and gentlemen. It's what the man does. Simply one of the very best. And he's on our team. Conversely, so is EC. So, EC, tell me what you like in this particular section.
I mean, when I see the word parlay, Coach, I get so excited. This one, Jordan Spieth and Colin Morikawa on DraftKings for a top 5 parlay at plus 2,500. I mean, 25-1 on these 2 guys who both conceivably could win, are my top 2 picks to win along with Rory. I think this is a steal. And also, when you look at their top 10 market, it's plus 700. So I also bet that as well. I just think the value is so good here for these two guys. I'm rolling with this plus 2,500.
Steve, you don't realize what EC's doing here. He knows that I won't berate him with you on the show, but whenever he plays a parlay, it's now called an EC special because he loves parlays. He'd be like a 70% winning capper, except he puts them all together. Right, EC? Right, EC?
Yeah, I can't help myself, Coach. I just can't.
Damn it, I know you can't. All right, now I'm going to do mine very quickly. I also like a top 5 parlay. I got this at DraftKings. Rory and Scotty to finish in the top 5. I think they both can do it at plus 600. Think about this. This is the same price as if you bet Rory or Scotty to win the whole thing. It's the same price. And you can, but now they both have to finish top 5. I get that, but damn, there's a creative ways of doing it. And then, again, don't yell at me. Don't yell at me about fading the live guys, that I don't like live golf. Everybody knows I don't like live golf. But it's not about the players. It's about the lack of competition, which means that when you show up here, you may not have your A game. Bryson DeChambeau, plus 125 to miss the cut. Phil Mickelson, this is the easiest bet on the entire board. The man's barely finished inside the top 40 at all since he joined live. He's going to show up to Augusta National and make the cut? I don't think so. Minus 110. Now, Steve Scott, I have saved you for last. There are very few people walking planet Earth that have had the experience that you have had in your lifetime. First and foremost, why do you have Tiger Woods at plus 8,000 in this section?
Well, I think we've learned over the years that no matter what Tiger Woods, where he is or whatever, you cannot bet against this guy. And look, at plus 8,000, I mean, you gotta give it a shot. I mean, look, he has experience. And again, we started the show by saying experience matters, and it absolutely does. He knows every single nook and cranny at Augusta National. I know these guys don't have a home field advantage like they do at NFL or NBA, but if there was a home field advantage, Tiger Woods would have it right here because he just knows every blade of grass around that venue. So give him a shot at plus 8,000 and just trust me on that. I saw that firsthand.
And finally, if we could be so inclined, I would love to hear your best, favorite, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be a Tiger story. It could be a Masters story, but you had such a career. Tell me your favorite Tiger/Masters story that you have.
Well, I think it'd have to be a Masters story. So, I'm 19 years old and they gave me the keys to a brand new white Cadillac to drive down Magnolia Lane. But before that, I was driving to Augusta the Sunday right before Masters week. I was coming off a college event. I had this beat up Honda Civic, right? I was, middle-class guy, whatever, rolling in this Honda Civic from a college event. And I pull up to the gate at Augusta National about 9:00. And I roll down the window. I say, sir, I'm here to play the Masters this week. And blah, blah, blah. And the guy looks at me like I've got 3 heads. And I had to show him my ID and all that. And, he reluctantly let me through the gate. And I parked my car to the side of the clubhouse and went up there. I snuck in the champions locker room that night when I got there. Got to stay in the crow's nest. I mean, to stay on site on Augusta National is pretty amazing. But the next day, before they gave me the keys to that white Cadillac, one of the guys who was one of the employees there came over to me and said, "Hey, is that your piece of junk car on the side of the clubhouse?" And I said, "Yes, sir, it is." And he said, "You got to get that out of here right now." And so he took my keys, he moved it for me, gives me the keys to a white Cadillac, and I was cruising the whole week. I think I even took that thing through a Taco Bell drive-thru or something. It was so cool. It got the Augusta National logo on it. I mean, I was flying high as a 19-year-old.
You know what's so funny is that EC still drives that exact same car today. Today he does.
Maybe not after this week with all these great picks. Maybe with all these great picks, you'll be all right.
You gave away my secret. I thought people weren't supposed to know that.
Oh my goodness. It's always funny to me when you see some NBA superstar or Scotty Scheffler who's still driving the same car that he drove at Texas. And good for him. Good for him. They want to know one last question, Steve. Egg salad or pimento?
Well, if you're lactose intolerant, go with egg salad.
And there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the damage we can do. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Steve, did you have a good time?
Oh, 100%, 1,000%. I hope to come back here and wrangle with you boys once more. That'd be fun.
Oh, I can guarantee it.
All right.
See ya, go.
I'm a veto on that because it's very clear that Steve Scott is better than me, and I don't appreciate it. No, thank you.
Hey,
What
Sia,
about me, Sia?
I was going to say, you see the man right above you, right?
I mean,
We've got a spot available. Let's be honest.
still.
Steve, very much amazing having you on this week. Hopefully everybody at home, you listened to all the information. You make your picks for yourself. Don't tweet at us. All right, we do all the work for you, but we can't help you drink. You know what I mean? So with all that being said, all the picks are on the board. We're less than 2 days away for those of you watching live. If you're watching on demand, whenever you're watching, thank you very much as well. And with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Masters tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, love them all. Double S, EC, the counselor, the snake doing all the hard work behind the scenes. I am simply the coach. Tell all your friends, turn on your notifications. Come on in. The water's warm. We want everybody. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's what we're all about at the Early Wedge. Good luck.